Welcome everybody. It is Business Monday, the small biz segment. We're here at GoLocal live down on beautiful Way Bossett Street looking at piles of snow beginning to melt as we get a little bit of thaw. I'm Josh Fenton. This is Leo Pollack. Leo Pollack is are you the actual king of composting in the state of Rhode Island?
I don't know that I could claim that, but one of the pioneers of it.
Pioneers, Rhode Gold, big brand, Big Compost. Talk a little bit about, give us a little overview of the company.
Yeah, so my partner Nat Harris and I, who was from Newport Biodiesel, founded the company in 2013. And the goal is really to try to divert waste, food waste and other agricultural waste, turn them into products that benefit local gardeners and farmers. And so that's what we sell under the Rhode Gold brand.
And talk about, what was the genesis? You're sitting around, it's late one night at a local watering hole, and you're saying, you know what, I don't think there's enough composting going on.
It was one of those, there are moments where I've been standing in knee-deep in food waste and thinking, why did I get myself into this? But no, it actually came, my background was really in agriculture, urban agriculture, so teaching people how to grow food in the city.
Yep.
My partner, as I mentioned, had really been involved in waste to energy. And so we recognize, Rhode Island has a waste problem, and we're seeing this rise in agriculture and local food. And we thought if we could, really move forward with a company that was turning that waste into products that had value and were benefiting local food production, whether it's in the city or in rural areas, that there was a really business opportunity there.
So we really do have a waste problem, and it doesn't really, shame on the media like GoLocal, doesn't cover it enough. We have one landfill,
Central
primarily
landfill.
For the whole state, just about. There's a few little outlying exceptions to it. And it is a landfill that's been extended about 18 times past its life cycle. It is the tallest point in Rhode Island, and it's not getting any lower. And so we do have to develop strategies for diverting waste and obviously recreating better usage rather than just burying it into giant piles, which may someday be a ski resort, but not in any of our lifetime. Talk about, how do you build a company like this? What's the product? How do you develop the product? And then what's the distribution structure?
Yep. So, and Josh, you're totally right. We, with one central landfill, we feel like Rhode Island actually is sort of the perfect canary in the coal mine around waste. That
right.
A significant portion of the waste going to the landfill is food waste or other waste that could be turned into something more valuable. Our business was really based on a service and a product. So the service was sort of a customized waste hauling business that, we service food waste, which has its challenges around odor potential.
Yeah.
We try to do it in a really sort of clean, customer service oriented way. That waste gets processed. We manage a farm up in Smithfield. We produce really high quality aged compost, and then we can turn that compost also into different potting soils for different types of growing.
And over the last 5, now going on 6 years, what's been your trajectory of growth? I mean, I'm sure month 1 was a couple bags of compost. What are you producing now?
So we started the business literally with one truck on the road, crazy enough to think that would get us started. So we now have 3 trucks, 2 of which are on the road 7 days a week. They're customized, so we think we're doing really something innovative in this sector.
Yeah.
And then in terms of products, it broke my heart every time to see both gardeners and farmers buying soil from Vermont and Maine. And I just thought, strange way to look at it, but Rhode Island has great waste resources. We have a dense population, so a lot of food waste. We have kind of ocean and fish processing waste. We have a lot of different types of land-based agriculture, so different manures. And those together with things like wood chips, leaves, really can produce a nice balanced compost and potting soil. So that was really seeing that opportunity, that could we not have local growers and gardeners using stuff trucked from out of state. And the business has grown substantially since that
and
first.
And how are folks buying it? I understand you're probably selling on a B2B strategy to the farmers, but how are you hitting consumers? How are they aware of this brand? How are they making a choice about you guys?
Yep. So we definitely, so the bag products are available at a number of local nurseries,
Shout them
hardware
out.
stores.
Give your distribution channel. Where can I get some of this fine compost?
So places like Cluck in Cranston.
Sure.
A number of Ace Hardware stores.
Excellent.
Bristol, Barrington, Portsmouth.
Great.
And then we're also carried at some of the independent kind of garden centers. So
right.
and I would say if there's a nursery or garden center that you go to and you don't see, or you're seeing Coast of Maine products, tell them you want to see a local product in there.
Demand you want to see Rhode Gold at your local garden store to help support the local economy. Where do you guys go? How big can you get? What's the supply? How much can you process? What's the growth strategy over the next, you can't look out 5 years in anything in business anymore, but just the next 12 to 24 months.
Yeah, so, right now we're processing at the farm up in Smithfield, probably 4 to 5 tons a day. We'd like to double that. The goal, some of the material we collect is going to a partner farm up in Massachusetts.
Right.
So we're scaling up equipment to kind of meet that demand. Our goal is actually, kind of to do a different model than the traditional waste sector. So rather than one giant centralized facility, sound familiar?
Yeah, absolutely.
To really think about models that are decentralized, producing really quality product and selling it under one brand. So the last thing we want to see is a number of compost sites that are competing against each other for a small market. But that really feels like there's, for quality soil with those types of waste products integrated, we're seeing a lot of growth in home gardening, urban gardening, people wanting flower boxes, as well as kind of commercial agriculture.
And if I'm a consumer and I'm, a significant gardener, would I know the difference once utilizing this brand that this is a superior product? I mean, are my geraniums going to grow faster and healthier?
They would. So I think it's very similar to food that with soil you're really feeding the soil to feed your plants.
Right.
So most people, if they're buying $1 bags at a generic big box store and they start using a good quality compost or good potting soil, your plants are not only going to look healthier, they're going to produce more, so more flowers, more fruit.
So if you've got Al Forno's waste in your stream, right. Are my geraniums going to have, a little more attitude than maybe my neighbors because I'm using Rhode Gold and really it's a byproduct of the food waste out of Al Forno?
That's exactly our motto is waste to gold.
Yeah. Do you charge more for the bags that directly come from the Al Fornos and the other upscale restaurants?
I wonder if that'll be the new trend in waste will be that kind of source identification.
Yeah, that's right.
Right now it's all generically mixed, but it really is about broad inputs are going to really produce a better overall product.
So EcoRI was on one day, and Joanne said we should do away with the recycling program because the participation, for the amount of time, energy, and money, other than some affluent areas of good public radio listenership, the East Side, Barrington, and East Greenwich, the participation rate now, 20 years later, it's 20 years later, are still
really hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed. You go to certain sections of Providence or Central Falls or Pawtucket, no one is participating virtually in the recycling program. Is there a better strategy to be able to really rethink the waste stream? I mean, you live the waste stream. You're thinking about the waste stream for profit. Is there a better way? We're down here. You can't find no business down here in any significant way is commercially recycling. There's no enforcement anymore. What's the way for Rhode Island or any community to think about transitioning to a more effective, both in the reducing the waste stream going to landfill, but also making it a more economically palatable strategy?
It's a great question, and I think it's really at the core of sort of waste policy and I would say broadly consumer awareness that, I am a recycler of a number of products because I believe in it, but it has to make economic sense. And I think you're pointing out some of our recycling, a lot of it is, are there products that we can use and turn into something that has another value. And that's really at the core. With some of the recyclables, there really isn't.
Yeah.
And I think we then need to ask the question, is that worth recycling, or should we be using those products anymore? So,
you know, we're not preachy here and we're not Pollyannish. We went paperless when we moved to this space for a number of reasons, and it's been, for the most part, incredibly easy. The amount of paper we produce, we still get paper in the mail and things like that, but the amount that we produce is a tiny fraction of what, you know, what's the intervention? Is it only going to happen when there's a crisis at the landfill and the clock is literally on the field and, you know, it becomes one of those great Rhode Island crises that the only time we do anything is when it's piling up on the street or something like that? How do we transition that? I mean, you've done a great job. You've made it into a business. Have you started to think about what else could you do, or you've focused on, I'm going to be the compost king, not just of Rhode Island, but of New England or the East Coast?
Yeah, it's, I think the reality is, that awareness is really important. For us, we work mostly on the commercial side. So we're working with restaurants, institutions, the local hospitals.
Yep.
But we put a lot of time and energy into that education and kind of the front end, because if there's a lot of non-compostable, so if we're getting a lot of plastic and glass, that really degrades the value of the product. And so for us, that education on the front end really translates to a higher product value perceived and real on the back end. And I think that's true across the board. So, I mean, in my mind, we really do have to put that energy in. And I think part of it is we need to sort of, waste needs to be something that's a little less invisible and a little more tangible of where is it going, what's happening to it, and what's the potential of it. And I think what a lot of people realize when we work with restaurants, there is some transition in terms of them figuring out how do they create a third bin.
Right.
So it's trash, recycling, and compostables. Once they integrate that, it's really just becomes second nature. There's this perception that it's going to be a burden, but it's the same amount of waste divided differently.
Right.
And once you have the system set up, it just becomes part of your normal operation.
I'm sure there's some restaurateurs who care about the environmental issue, but at the end of the day, it's really about the cost, right?
Absolutely.
And you're saying to them, hey, listen, there's a better way to do it. It's going to save you money. Is that really what's going to take, sort of taking your learning and your applicability to the commercial restaurant industry to be the motivating factor to others in other business segments or in the consumer segment?
I think so. I mean, I think there's always been this dichotomy to say, we're either doing the environmental thing or we're doing the economic thing.
Right.
And I think that we need to find where's the overlap in those, that it's not that choice. And some of that is policy driven, but most of that is, for a restaurant, 50, 60% of what they're throwing away is compostable.
Right.
So our pitch to them is to say, if you separate this, there is a cost for the service, but you're then reducing your trash costs significantly.
Right.
And so that I think is sort of the type of kind of business and environmental combination that we need to get a little better about.
You worked with Commerce on an innovation grant. Talk a little bit about that.
So Commerce has been really a pleasure to work with.
I'm so sorry to hear that. We have these guests on. Every time I try and prod, did you have a bad experience? We try and be very fair-minded in our journalism. And unfortunately, everybody's had this wonderful experience working with Commerce. I'd like to see a little more balance of the type of folks that come over here.
They were great in terms of, we're not the traditional business that is a priority for
Show us your product, right? Here's some waste, here's some compost.
But it was a great combination of, we have enough kind of plant soil understanding to be dangerous, but not that kind of expertise. So we pitched an innovation voucher that basically said, University of Rhode Island as the land grant institution has these great resources in the plant science department.
Absolutely.
And we want to really hone our potting soils to expand sales to different types of commercial growers across New England and see that as an opportunity. So we're working this whole year to really get those mixes dialed in, side-by-side grow trials in greenhouses, and really they provided the expertise that we didn't have in-house, and the innovation voucher program was kind of a perfect fit to fund that.
Rhode Island's agricultural industry is under tremendous pressure. The dairy farming industry is almost, on its last legs. Christensen just recently closed down one of the last sort of both dairy farm and delivery systems. I think it was a slow and painful death for that family who really tried, did it for 100 years. How does that impact what you're doing? Do you see it as, listen, we can sell it in bulk on the supply side to the agricultural industry as it develops and morphs and maybe changes to urban, but at the end of the day, this is going to be a consumer product that we ultimately...
It's a great, I think what we're really seeing is a real shift in agriculture.
Yeah.
And what's hard is we don't want to lose some of those, especially family farms that have been around for generations. And that's on the flip side, we're also seeing a real rise in new and beginning farmers and young farmers. There's some issues around access to land and markets, but I think what we're trying to position this as is, they're kind of customized bulk products for different types of commercial growers, whether they're doing microgreens, some of those in old warehouses, or whether they're doing traditional greenhouse agriculture for transplant crops. But we see it as both, that if a farmer that is selling at the farmer's market is using this product in his or her greenhouse, that should be the same quality that a consumer could buy at a local nursery.
Will you be developing a special line for the emerging marijuana industry here in Rhode Island?
It is something
Will that be Rhodey really gold?
So we do have a product that we've been refining. It's called the Grow Master.
The Grow Master, of course it is. So we'll wait and see if there's a legalization over the next few months. Leo, thank you so much for coming
Josh,
in
it's been
today.
a pleasure.
Really wildly interesting development of really a new business model, and congratulations on the success so far. We're going to be right back with Anthony Sanders, who's another entrepreneur doing some interesting things in Rhode Island. And then at 4 o'clock hour, we'll have the money man, Gary Sass, on for his weekly visit. We'll be right back in 2 minutes. Welcome back, everybody, to Biz Monday. We got it all going on. We just had Leo Pollock on talking about Rhode Gold composting company that's really trying to change the whole waste stream here in Rhode Island. Special guest today, Anthony Sanders, young man I have known for, I don't even want to say how long. Superstar runner, entrepreneurs, got it all going. Saw this product and said, got to get this guy on. Anthony, let's talk a little bit about, you've created a really cool branded bow tie company. You were sitting around one day and go, gosh darn it, we need a bow tie company here.
Well, how it started out actually was, I've been a fan for bow ties probably for about maybe 6 or 7 years. And the ones that you have, they're all the size of a jumbo size. And they're really hard to find and they're really expensive. And the ones that they normally make are normally like the solid color blacks and just the really traditional bow ties. So,
and it is hard to find a bow tie.
well, yeah, it is, but especially the jumbo size.
Yeah.
So I decided didn't really have what I wanted. I wanted some flavor, and I figured, you know what, I was going to learn to sew and start my own company.
Talk about the name of the company. What was the inspiration for the name?
Well, actually, the company Bebo Enterprises is really about just difference and being woke, you know, something that's really non-traditional. So having a business background, I wanted to start a company that could do a whole bunch of different things. Being a runner, I also wear a lot of apparel with my running club. We run this town, so we wanted to be able to do some apparel as well for the running club and just do some different things. So that's really how it originated. And you know, Awoken Apparel is a subsidiary of Be Woke. So
yeah, great. You're making these.
I am.
You are literally making these.
Literally.
I feel like I'm Mark Cuban on Shark Tank right now, talking to one of the guests on. And what's the inspiration? Let's start at the most basic level. What's the inspiration for designs? What makes you? I mean, this is a classic Rhode Island, super cool. Can see it wearing it with a blue blazer, white bucks down in Newport, right, or seersucker, looking as smart can be. This is a classic. Where? How?
Well, that particular design came from. It was a brainstorm of my friends and I. We were always talking about Rhode Island always gets a bad rep about people wanting to leave and go to other places to be successful. So I figured I designed this design for 401 Love for the state of Rhode Island, just to show that we have love for our state. So that was the design behind that.
This kind of night out, black tie, looking sporty, and you sewed this.
I did. I sew all the ties, and you know, most of the ties have names like. This one right here is the Marvin Gaye Crushed Velvet.
Marvin Gaye Crushed Velvet.
It's the Marvin Gaye Crushed Velvet.
I thought you were going to go Marvin Barnes Crushed Velvet.
Marvin Gaye Crushed Velvet. And this one actually is, you know, the thought behind the company isn't just bow ties.
Yeah.
It's really originals.
Yeah.
So say, for example, the 401, will probably sell a lot of them because of the state, but normally, like this particular one here, is what we call a one-off.
Yeah.
So a customer of ours wanted something unique. So we'll either design them a fabric or find them a fabric that no one else has, and then we'll make the tie, and then this will be the only tie that we make with that.
So how are you selling them right now? I mean, I saw you on Facebook, and we've known each other a long time, and you follow me, and I follow you, and I saw this starting to emerge, and I'd be perfectly honest, I didn't quite understand it at first. I thought you were like wearing it, and this was a cool designer somewhere in, you know, either Pawtucket or Paris. And how are folks getting in contact with you, ordering them, having this discussion with you on the product?
Well, we didn't intend to originally become a company. Initially, it was just that I wanted to make some cool bow ties for me. So the business model is still emerging. Currently, what we're doing is we have a fan page on Facebook that's called Awoken Apparel. And I'm also working on an online store through, I believe it's Square Up.
Right.
So that's going to probably be the model to do it. And then if the customer wants to contact us, because I really liked, you know, my business model is, you know, I want to have a relationship with the customer. You know, I like to talk to all my customers to see what they want to wear it for, what their personality is. That's going to dictate what your tie is going to look like.
You're going to get crushed in wedding business because everybody's going to want to have, custom ties for the entire, male side of the attendants and the best man and the groom. Are you ready for this little mini potential explosion that's going to take place over the next few months?
I think so. I mean, I think the business model is everything. I mean, I study business, so I understand supply, demand, and just having, to be really organized. So I think, as we've progressed and we've gotten, so far I think we probably have about 20 orders. We've made about 20 orders. So, the more you do it, the more efficient you become. And also, we're not intended to be like a big, huge company. I mean, we want to be, we want to be relatively successful, but we want to really cater to the customer's needs.
Now, I have, how much if I give you a holler after you teach me how to tie a bow tie? How much will this cost me at retail?
Well, our prices vary. So say, for example, this is a custom print, so that's one that we design. So if it's a custom set, this with a pocket square would be $50.
Nice.
The regular house fabrics, as we call them, where we find them anywhere, would be $40. And then the custom made, which is this one, would also be, that would be $50. And it varies too. It depends on the shapes too.
Right.
Because we have kids' bow ties. We're doing a project for an infant, actually.
Really?
So it really varies, to the complexity of the project.
This is big. This is. Are you ready for the next step? Have you thought about how when you have to give up sewing them all and where that's going to take place and who's going to be your seamstresses?
Well, again, I have 2 sons, so they've actually been helping out with the business. And we'd like to really we'll keep it family-oriented and really intimate, because I think that's, style is intimate.
Do you remember child labor laws here in Rhode Island while you're... Yeah.
I'll definitely remember that.
This is really exciting. It's one of those cool, organic, Rhode Island, design-driven businesses. It's smart. It's cool. I think it's going to be a big success. We're glad you're here. We're glad we got to talk to you before Shark Tank talked to you, and those guys bid you up. Congratulations on all the success.
No, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it and getting a chance to reconnect with you after 30 plus years. I don't want to tell your age. But thank you so much.
I was like 5 at the time when we got together. Listen, everybody, we're going to be back at 4 o'clock with Gary Sass, the money man, talking about a bunch of issues related to the state budget, as well as some issues going on down in D.C. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on the Small Biz segment, sponsored by Commerce RI. Anthony Sanders, great to see you.
Thank you so much, Josh.
I cannot wait to watch this company explode. We'll see you back at 4 o'clock. Thank you.